Between Clearsight's tendency to blame Darkstalker for things he hadn't done, and Darkstalker's lack of empathy, would they have ever worked out? How close were those futures with dragonettes and an end to the Icewing Nightwing feud? The end of their relationship was dramatic, but how many other ways might they have fallen apart? Clearsight saw plenty of futures with disaster. For all we know, as bad as their story ended, there were definitely ways it could have been worse. So, I've been rereading my favorite Wings of Fire book lately, and yikes. It's been a little while for me, and I'll admit, I'd forgotten some of the finer points of the great Clearsight and Darkstalker romance. But the more I reread, the more I was like, wow, were they ever a healthy couple? In the book, thanks to the visions from both Nightwings, we know that they're destined to have this great love. Darkstalker especially seems star-stricken with this romance. For him, this destiny is as immutable as the stars and moons themselves. He describes them as the greatest love story in history. Clearsight, meanwhile, even from the first time we see her, is more calculating. While she tracks her visions, she's constantly wondering, if I meet him then, what happens next? If I put it off until here, what does that change? Darkstalker is besotted with Clearsight. However, even from the beginning, her love is always tempered by her fear for the future and her desire to set the Nightwings on the least harmful path. I feel like so many people love the Clearsight and Darkstalker ship. We all hone in on that Moon's Destined Lovers bit, and the good times they had, and how cool they both are. But today, I want to look at the details of who exactly these dragons are, and if they ever had a chance at a true relationship at all. So let's start with the more obvious. Darkstalker. From the moment we meet him, his first POV chapter, the first thing that strikes me is how selfish he is. When he's wondering if he should coax White out from her egg early on, the deciding factor is his mother's adoration and the power that he can sense in himself. He knows somehow that he has power, and he wants it for himself. He also thinks that since Foeslayer clearly doesn't like Arctic, and she adores Darkstalker, that if he lets Whiteout wait, he'll be able to keep all of his mother's love for himself. That's two cases right off the bat where Darkstalker carefully considers an action and ultimately chooses what's best solely for him. Don't believe me? Check out this passage from Chapter 2 of Darkstalker Legends. Mother hesitated, glancing at the unhatched egg, which was still black. Darkstalker listened as her mind turned it over, already half detached. She wasn't sure anyone would ever come out of that egg. She was ready to give all of her love to Darkstalker, her perfect thrice moon-born dragonette. All of it, and he was ready to take it. But Darkstalker knew his sister was in that egg, alive but not restless, quiet. She didn't care for the moons that had called him forth. She couldn't hear them. Something tingled in his claws. He could change that. He could touch her egg and summon her. He knew it somehow. He could see in his mind how her egg would turn silver under his talons, how it would splinter and crack open as she scrambled out. He could see the beautiful, odd-looking dragonette that would come out, and he could see the moons sharing their power with her, too. Then they would be the same. She would be born under 3 moons as well. She would have the same power as him, and the same love from Mother, which he already had to share with the undeserving ice monster across from him. No, this was his. All he had to do was nothing. His sister would come out in her own time tomorrow when the moons were no longer full. Then he would be the only special one. "All right," said Mother. "If that egg hatches, you can name the dragonette inside." She'll be all right, Darkstalker thought. 1,000 futures dropped away before him as he made his first choice. Futures where his sister joined his quest for power. Futures where she fought him and stopped him. Futures where they were best friends. Futures where one of them killed the other, or vice versa. As Darkstalker folded his talons together, choosing to keep them still for tonight, every possible future with a thrice moonborn sister disappeared. He saw them blink out, and although he didn't know exactly what it meant, he felt somehow a tiny bit safer, a tiny bit bigger, and stronger. "Sorry, little sister," he thought, not in so many words, but with visions of his future cascading through his mind. "This is my mother. Those are my full moons. This is my world now." So that's pretty clear cut. By the time we meet him later, his affections for Whiteout are obvious. He loves his sister, defends her from bullies, their parents, and does his best to be kind to her. I mean, his first animus spell was adorable to help Whiteout. I'm not saying he doesn't love his sister. He loves her when they're both still in their eggs, but loving her doesn't mean he can't still be selfish in this instant. I think his self-centeredness is his biggest flaw. So many times when I was reading this book, I'd catch comments or thoughts from him that are like, wow, he has almost no empathy. He has good moments, don't get me wrong, but take his meeting with Fathom and Indigo, for instance. The moment he meets them, he's calculating how he can use their friendship for his own benefit, and quickly how he can get rid of Indigo as well. Now, there are very few select dragons whose opinions Darkstalker cares about, but it becomes obvious that that's all he cares about. When Clearsight expresses concerns about certain spells, he doesn't listen to her and consider his actions. He lies and hides them. He cares about her opinion of him more than her. And that's just his close friends. Other people, the queen, his parents, random dragons, they are pieces in his game, pieces in his grand future, and he doesn't care about them. Clearsight cares about everyone, so much, even random scavengers. Darkstalker can only pretend to care sometimes. I think his main flaw is, again, selfishness. He's centered on his future, not his and Clearsight's future, not his tribe's future, not his family's future. It's all Darkstalker's future, and how can everyone else play into that? Now, let's talk about Clearsight for a minute. Most people see her as the good one in their relationship, but here's my hot take. She was at least as much of a problem as Darkstalker, and maybe more. Clearsight's greatest flaw is also her greatest virtue. Her care for the future. Her visions, her foresight that makes her so caring, her ability to look out for everyone around her, that's a wonderful thing, and she shows true compassion and care for others in how she applies it, even if she could definitely stand to pace herself better. But in the same way, this was her biggest pitfall with Darkstalker. How many times did he beg her to see the real him, not the him from her visions? How many times did she doubt him for things he hadn't done, judge him for actions he'd never committed, or look at him with fear, seeing a version that didn't exist? If someone in a relationship can see literally every bad thing you could possibly do, and chose to constantly nag and remind and judge you for all those things, how would you handle it? And she's not necessarily wrong for worrying either. Darkstalker has issues, and he was a lot more likely to commit horrible crime than your average dragon. This is one of the reasons the story is so compelling for readers. There's nuance and moral gray areas. It's not that one of them is bad or one of them is good, or even that their actions are either good or bad. Just like in real life, it's hard to discern the truth. They do bad things with good intentions. They do bad things with good reasons. They make honest mistakes, and like everyone, they're just trying their best. But because of their unique powers and situations, the stakes of their story are so much higher than usual. Anyways, the thing about Clearsight is that she could never enjoy them as they were. Sure, she had her happy moments when Darkstalker swept her up in his charming romantic love story, but how often are those sweet romantic moments interrupted by her fears? And I don't even know if this is her fault necessarily. It wasn't healthy for her to be constantly reminding and worrying about Darkstalker's future, but then those visions plagued her. She wasn't looking on purpose all the time. She wasn't poking around to cause trouble. Those visions assaulted her without warning, often bringing physical pain and distress. How could anyone ask her not to talk about that, not to worry and stress about the future? It's a garbage situation all around. But between the two of them, there's just so many bad signs. Clearsight cares about everyone, but she's hardest on the dragon she loves most. Darkstalker can't bring himself to put anyone's wants or needs above his own, not even his soulmates. Yes, their love was exciting and beautiful, but how long would it have taken for those flaws to clash and set them down the same path we see them take at the end of the book? Reading this book again has just given me so many thoughts and reminded me why I love this book. It's a captivating story about love and destiny, morality, nature versus nurture, and how choices change your future. And again, one of the reasons it's so intriguing to me is because it's hard to figure out who's in the right and who's in the wrong. This book is one giant moral gray area. Things that happen have to be examined from so many lenses. Is this right for two people in a relationship? Is this right for that person? Is this right for the common good? And on and on. And my perspective on so many things changes depending on how I look at it, which is such a great quality for a book to have. That ability to make you wonder, is this right? Is this wrong? Why is it right or wrong? And what could change my answer? And keep in mind, I really like both of these characters a lot. I love their book, I love their romance, I love the drama and the story and all that, but I can like two characters and still analyze their flaws. Both of them do what they think is right, at least for themselves, but so many of their actions went awry. So don't think this is just me bashing the two of them. I don't feel like I've fully managed to phrase my thoughts right on this one, but I think I got the gist of it across. My reread has just reminded me how imperfect the two of them were, how many facets of their personality and relationship were trouble waiting to happen regardless of outside factors. Anyways, what do y'all think? Were they doomed from the start? Do you remember Clearsight's nagging and Darkstalker's lack of empathy? What do you think about my analysis here? If you enjoyed this video, be sure to check out my other What's Its Face videos where I talk about art, books, and, increasingly commonly, make unnecessarily deep comments on the morality of these funky little dragons. Also, in the description are links to my different socials, Patreon, DeviantArt, and my store. Thank you all so much for watching, and y'all have a blessed rest of your day.